Hi everyone, welcome back to my booktube channel Lisa in Bookland. Today I'm here to bring you a book haul of books that I picked up while I was on holidays in Cornwall. I visited probably at least one bookshop in every town we went to. There was so many really nice little bookshops, second-hand, new bookshops, charity shops. So I was very busy, so I did manage to pick up lots of really good and promising looking books. So the first books I'm going to talk about are some new releases. I've heard these mentioned in kind of people's books that they're excited about coming up in 2022, so when I saw them I couldn't resist picking them up, even in hardcover, which I wouldn't buy a lot of due to space. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Maid by Nita Prose. I've heard people talking about this, that they were excited about reading it. I haven't heard anybody talk about it who has read it yet. It seems to be about this maid who works in a fancy hotel in London, and one day she finds a dead body in one of the rooms she's cleaning. And one of the things I've heard about the books is that it's a non-neurotypical character, so it'll be interesting to see how she reacts to that, and I believe it's kind of a bit of a crime story, as you'd imagine. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting one to read, and I can't wait to get to it. So the next book I'm going to talk about is The Key in the Lock by Beth Underdown. I picked this up in a bookshop in Falmouth, and the lady who sold it to me said that it was actually set in Falmouth, so I definitely couldn't leave it behind after that because I thought Falmouth was a really nice town. I love port towns. I don't know a huge lot about this book. Again, I've heard people talk about it. It seems to be kind of a ghost story, and it seems to be set in the 20th century at some stage, so I'm just going to read the blurb. So, by day, Ivy Boscawen mourns the loss of her son Tim in the Great War, but by night she mourns another boy, one whose death decades ago haunts her still. For Ivy fears that there is more to what happened all those years ago, the fire at Polneath House and the terrible events that came after, a truth she must uncover if she is ever to be free. So yes, as I said, it seems like a bit of a mystery, a bit of a ghost story, and definitely one for maybe a dark night while we still have the nights a bit longer before summer comes. So this next book is actually a super new release. I believe it was only released last week, and it's Mercia's Take by Daniel Wiles. So the reason I picked this up is because of the subject matter. It's about a mine, it's about coal mining in the 1870s. I picked this up in St Ives in the afternoon, and that morning we'd actually gone to see an old tin mine which closed in the 1990s but opened in the 1910s, and before that there was actually an older mine on the site called Wheel Mexico. It was operating during the 18th century, so I found that tour really interesting and really informative, and just when I saw this on the shop and the lady in the shop recommended it, I had to pick it up, and I've actually already read this book. I read it that night. It's a very short little book, but basically the premise is it's about this not tin miner but a coal miner a bit further up north, I'd say, than Cornwall, but he actually works two mining jobs to try and escape from the circle of poverty, which means that he has to work these jobs, these dangerous jobs that are very bad for his health. He wants to break his son out of that and to give his son an education. And one day while he is down in the coal mine chipping away, he finds a seam of gold, and it's about what happens after he discovers that. So yes, this is such a good book and packed such a punch for such a short book. I would really recommend it if you're interested in the life of the lower classes in like the late Victorian era, mining, or just a really good character study. Really, the main character was so complex, and just the way he was trying to make things better was, I suppose, a bit heartbreaking, but yeah, very, very good book, and I'll definitely be looking out for other books by this author because I believe it was a debut. Some of the dialogue for the characters written in dialect. I did find that a little bit hard to follow at first, but I actually really got into the swing of it, so don't let that put you off in the first few pages. So the final hardback I'm going to talk about is The Winter Guest by W.C. Ryan. Set in a big house, but this time it's set not in England, it's set in Ireland, and it's set in 1921 at the start of the Civil War in Ireland. So this is about an IRA ambush that goes wrong, and the daughter of the house ends up being killed, and her former fiance, who's an IRA intelligence captain, has to investigate her death. So I think it'll be a really interesting historical setting, and definitely will fit in with Irish Readathon prompt to read a book set in the 1920s. So yes, very excited to get this one, and it'll be one of my reads for next month. So now for some books that I picked up second hand. There were so many charity shops, and it's really a crime to come out of a charity shop without buying at least one book, so I made sure to buy plenty. So the first book I'm going to talk about that's a second hand book is Thin Air by Michelle Paver. For Christmas, one of my presents was Dark Matter by Michelle Paver, and I really enjoyed that. It was a ghost story as well, and it was really excellent. That book was set in the Arctic. This book is set on Mount Everest. It's about a true expedition of 5 Englishmen that set out to climb the mountain in 1935, and I believe things ended up going a bit wrong. And as it says on the cover, it's a ghost story, so I can't wait to read those elements. And yeah, there seems to be a bit of a theme with this video, another one for a dark evening, I think, and her previous novel, I did read it in a night, so yeah, we'll be looking forward to reading this one. So again, in Falmouth there was this really nice second-hand shop, just absolutely crammed with books. And they had 2 shelves for nautical fiction and a lot more for like non-fiction, which I of course gravitated towards. So the first book I picked up was Gale Force by Nicholas Courtney. So I believe this is about Admiral Beaufort, who came up with the Beaufort scale and just follows his career. Yeah, I just really like reading about, I suppose, autobiographies that are well written, and this is a topic that I am interested in, and obviously we still use the Beaufort scale today, so I'm interested to see, to learn more about that in the background. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Hussein by Patrick O'Brian. I have loved the Aubrey Maturin novels by Patrick O'Brian and have read all of them, but I've never read anything else by him. So when I saw this, I really picked it up without even bothering to read the blurb, to be honest. But as you can see, it's set in India. It was published in 1938, so a long time ago. It was the second novel. So yeah, it does say that he has never been to India, but he does seem to have been really good at doing research, and definitely the Aubrey Maturin novels are extremely immersive and full of details, so I hope that I will get the same for this. So yes, I'll definitely be picking this up at some stage when I need my Patrick O'Brian fix, maybe without going back to the Aubrey Maturin novels as a default again. So staying on the nautical theme, I suppose, while I was in Cornwall I finished the, how would you call it, like I suppose naval adventure series I'd been reading, the Charles Hayden series, so I wanted to try another series, and this is one I'd kind of heard about but had not tried before, the Bolitho series by Alexander Kent. I didn't find the first one, but I did find this one, and it was only £1, and you know, I decided I wouldn't really mind reading them out of order just to sample this one. So I picked up Enemy in Sight. Really, the cover says it all. It's just one of those usual book series, I suppose, that are quite common but still really fun to read, about naval captains set in the Napoleonic Wars. So yeah, I won't give any more detail about this one because I don't know myself, and I believe it's like the 12th or 13th in the series, but I'm happy enough to proceed like that. So the next books I am very excited about because I've heard so much about them, and I have never read any Dorothy L. Sayers, and I've heard so much about the Lord Peter Wimsey series, so I managed to find these 3 matching set for £1 each in a charity shop. So I picked them up. Again, I don't think they're in the right order, but I just decided I'd take them anyways. So there's 3 of them. So this one is Clouds of Winter, Whose Body, and Unnatural Death. I suppose I'll see in which one of these comes first in the series, but I think they'll be really fun reads, and definitely I'll be happy to have finally gotten to checking out this series. So coming near the end, I suppose these are neither fish nor fowl, that they're not new releases but they're not second hand either. I just picked these up again in a shop. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Lost Future of Pepper Harrow by Natasha Pulley, and I was delighted to find this because I wanted it in hardback. Again, I don't usually buy hardback, but the other 3 Natasha Pulley books I do have are hardback, so I wanted this in hardback as well. So I believe this is the sequel to The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. I'm reading that at the moment as part of the read along hosted by Katie from Books and Things, and I'm so loving it. The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley is my favourite book ever. I just love her writing style, so I won't be reading this until after I finish The Watchmaker, but I can't wait to get to it. Yeah, I was a bit worried that the book would freak me out because I have a very bad phobia of moths, but I think they're pretty enough that they're okay, and I just don't look at them too hard. But it's pity she couldn't find something else to put on the cover. But yeah, can't wait to continue with Natasha Pulley. I'm a bit wary of reading them like too fast because there's only 4 of them so far. I know she's publishing another book this year, but I just want to draw them out because they are so fabulous, and I can tell she's just going to be a favourite author of all time for me. The final book I'm going to talk about is connected with Cornwall again, and it's called Cornish Horrors Tales from Land's End. I did stay right down at Land's End. I was in Sennin. You could actually walk to Land's End from there, and I did. It was fabulous. But yeah, I saw this book and I couldn't resist picking it up because I guess the Cornish landscape is so varied, like the beautiful fields and farms, but also the coast, which is so dramatic, and then obviously Bodmin Moor in that, so I can see why there would be a lot of kind of ghost stories associated with it. So yes, another one that I will be dipping in and out of. I believe that this is a collection of stories by like famous authors. It mentions the likes of Bram Stoker and Edgar Allan Poe, so it's a collection of stories by different authors rather than maybe other ghost stories I've read where it's just one editor collecting folk tales. So I really think this would be a worthwhile read. So that's it, and that's all the books that I got while I was over in Cornwall. As you can see, there's a lot. It's a good job I had the car and there was no issue with bringing them all home. Yeah, I guess I'll just need to now take more time off after my holiday to get through them all. So I'll let you know throughout the year how I am finding them. Even if I don't get to them immediately, I'm sure I will be reviewing them at some stage. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching. I'll see you again next Thursday for another video.